All right, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, December 2nd, 2020, and this is the Stormwater Utility Board's monthly meeting. We will, first item on the agenda are minutes for September, October, as well as November 2020. Are there any edits that need to be made to those minutes? Or corrections, rather?
I have none.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as reported?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Did anyone
opposed?
just, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. What's that, Lindy?
Did anyone just see that Steven emailed for the meeting?
Yeah, I sent him the link he had requested, so
there
he's joining right now.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine.
I just let him in.
All right, seeing that the minutes were approved, moving along to public comment. Ryan, do we have anything submitted or anyone online at this point? Or I'll open it up for public comment.
Yeah, I don't have anything yet. Mason, you may give it a minute because there is a little bit of a lag.
Okay.
I still have no comments, Mason.
Okay. Well, I'll note that we closed public comment at 5:53 p.m. And moving along to item number 4 on the agenda, invoices. Ryan, if you don't mind going over that with us briefly.
Yeah, actually shocking. We do not have any invoices for you guys this month. So that wasn't an error. We actually don't have any invoices, which is a little bit typical for this time of year. We've kind of gotten out of the realm of doing drainage work based on the fact that it's cold and wet. It's not a good time of year to do drainage work. So.
All right.
Good job.
Thanks for the update. Any old business that we need to discuss before moving on to the new items?
I don't have any old business, no.
Okay. Moving along to new business then. 6A, award bid for Cobblestone Springs stormwater improvement. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yes, so thank you. Just as a reminder, this was one of our major capital improvement projects. We are a little bit behind. We had hoped that we would actually do construction of this project this year. Alex had some struggles on the design side. It was a little more complex, I think, than we anticipated. We've ran into some structures and some other things that we kind of had to avoid to kind of work around. So it took us a little bit more on the design side. But we did want to still be able to capture the money this year out of this year's budget. So our plan would be to award the project and then do a PO to basically capture the money from this year's budget so it doesn't impact next year's budget. And when we created the storm utility, this was one of the major capital projects we had identified that needed to be done. And just kind of a summary of it, there are some, the ponds in Cobblestone Springs stage, and then it also causes the ponds upstream to stage as well, meaning they hold more water than they probably are meant to. And so the Cobblestone ponds, once they kind of stage higher, they cause the Waterford Lake ponds to stage higher, and they cause some of the other upstream development ponds to stage higher as well. So when we looked at it, we determined that there were some irregularities in the system. And so we were kind of designing a way to release more water in a better way so that those ponds don't stage the way that they are. So with that, Alex, I don't know if you want to add more, if that summary was good, or if you want to show them anything in your design.
Sure.
Or if you guys have questions.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Yeah, we had some older models that we had to kind of go back through. This was part of there was a phase 1 of this project that was done probably in 2012, I would say. So a little bit of dust had collected, so it took a little bit to kind of go back and rework that and just make sure it was all set and ready to go. But essentially what we're trying to do is upsize the discharge piping from that pond system from the Cobblestone Springs area. We're heading that south along kind of existing easements, utility and drainage easements, down towards US 36, where it'll discharge into an NDOT, right away where it currently discharges, but it would discharge at a higher rate. So back in 2012, when the first phase was done over in the Beechwood Center, all that coordination was done. So we're going to have to kind of just, re-coordinate that through a permit on this project. But we did go through and get bids. As Ryan kind of talked about, there's a little bit of utility relocation work that needs to be done. So we built that time frame into this bid. So the contractor who put bids in on this understand that there is a kind of an initial exploratory investigation phase to verify the depths of a few of those utilities. We've allowed, I think, 145 days in for utility relocations to occur, and then the contractor would come in typically during the drier time of the year, June, July, August, then to actually construct this project. So all that was built into this in advance so that we shouldn't see any issues like we ran into on the previous project at Avon Heights, where there was a delay and a subsequent increase in price. So we did go out to request bids here through public bidding. 5 bids were received. I think you received a kind of the preliminary, bid tab from that yesterday. We've gone through and kind of reviewed those, and those numbers are correct. And kind of 2 low contractors, Eagle Valley and Morphe Construction, have kind of bids that are well below the engineer's estimate. Lindy, I think you kind of indicated there was a bit of a range in those, in the overall bids. Sometimes that'll happen, with this one being a little bit further out and bidding on it. Sometimes a contractor may not sharpen their pencil quite as much on a job and say, hey, if you want me to do it, sure, I'll do it for this. But that might be what the highest end of those might be. But I think you can see there from the kind of 330 range through the 430 range, and our estimate was kind of right there in the middle, that there's a number of them that seem to be kind of in a reasonable area. And I think these 2 contractors have both provided solid numbers worth considering. Just a little bit of an update as well. The base bid that you see on there is for all reinforced concrete pipe, which is typically what we try to do, especially in right-of-way areas. It's probably the most robust type of pipe. The alternate number 1 was for kind of a dual wall HDPE pipe in areas outside of the NDOT right-of-way. So that's what the cost difference is there. We were expecting that potentially that would be a little bit more than what it turned out to be. So with those 2 differences there and only possibly a $19,000 difference, I think we'd probably lean towards awarding one of the concrete pipe awards there. And based on those 2, Eagle Valley does appear to be the lower, although it is very close.
Alex, thanks for the update. Kurt or Lindy, do you have any questions for the staff?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the process completely. So is it always the lowest bid is awarded, or are there other factors that come into consideration? I know we're discussing it now, but would there be a reason to go for, other than monetary reason, would there be a reason to go for Murphy and not Midwest?
So the law actually says we have to award it to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. So if based on qualifications, if they're not capable of doing this kind of work, we could reject them. Or if we've had a bad experience with them and we say they're not really qualified to do the work because we've had a bad experience, those would be factors we could consider as well. But Mitchell will tell you that if we are going to reject the lowest bidder, we need to have
A good reason.
reasons of why we're not doing that. And I think in this case, we're not aware, at least Alex and I are not aware of any reason. Eagle Valley, we require them to provide qualifications with their bids. Morphe they just did the last 2 projects for us, and I think they are certainly qualified. And Eagle Valley provided their projects they've worked on too, and they've done a lot of this type of work as well. So I think they're both qualified, and so that kind of leaves us with the lowest as the final decision maker.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
I think certainly the between the base bid and the alternate bid would be to your discretion about what type of system you wanted to do and what the price point would be for your constituents as far as which way you wanted to go. But certainly, I think from there is a better product. With RCP pipe, it's more stable long term. There's less issues with it. So with the cost difference not being as much there, I think the reinforced concrete pipe may be the better way to go. Certainly you can entertain the other one if you wanted to go with the alternate there, which would save you a little bit of money. HDPE pipe is commonly used in drainage systems, and it's perfectly adequate as well. But between the two of them, you could say that there is certainly an improvement in the product that you'd be getting with the base bid amount there with RCP pipe.
Could I ask a question? Ryan, do you know the capacity of both contractors? Are they able to perform it based on what you understand of their workload?
Yeah, I think they both are fairly sizable companies. I wouldn't expect for either of them to have a capacity issue, especially, Steve, I don't know if you caught the first part of this. This work really wouldn't start till probably the spring or early summer, because we've built in some days to allow for utility relocations and things like that. So knowing that, I think they both have plenty of capacity and they'd have the ability to plan and be ready to do the job once their time got there to be able to do it.
Yeah, okay, that sounds fine. Thank you.
And Ryan, out of curiosity, do you recall what we did have in the budget for a monetary value for this one?
Good question. I don't remember. I can look it up really quick. I want to say it was 450,000, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was 455, if I remember right. Now, there were a few things through the kind of route analysis that we did earlier this year that was able to shorten this project some, which I think has led to some of this cost savings. That was part of the reason why we kind of selected the route that we went through.
Okay.
Yeah, Kurt, we budgeted 455.
Okay, thank you.
So what is the staff's recommendation that, well, one, what specific action do you need from us, Ryan, as a board? And is that based on your, an action based on your recommendation? Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, so I think our recommendation, we need you guys to award the bid. And so honestly, I will defer to you guys a little bit. I would tell you that our staff recommendation would be I think what Alex said, which is the concrete pipe, probably, which is the base bid, in which case the low bidder would be Eagle Valley at $329,000. If the storm board is interested in saving $19,000, the alternate one would obviously then go to Morphe at $310,000. And so if we wanted to save the money, again, that product is maybe not as good as concrete, but it has some benefits as well. So ultimately, if the storm board thinks the value of going to that material is worth saving $19,000, I don't think Alex and I wouldn't argue with you guys. So I think our recommendation would be either awarded to Eagle Valley for the $329,000 or awarded to Morphe for the $310,000.
If we don't go with the pipe upgrade?
Correct, yeah.
Kurt, Lindy, do you have based on that information, either one of you want to make a motion for one of those two bids? And if so, spell out specifically which one?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to award to Eagle Valley for the lump sum base bid in the amount of $329,000.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor of approving the Eagle Valley base bid of $329,000, following a recommendation from the staff, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, we have approved the following.
Great, thank you.
Next item up is 6B, Stormwater Engineering Contract, GRW.
Yeah, so every year we kind of do an annual contract with GRW. We kind of identify what capital projects or what kind of design work we have in the next year. And so there's a couple of projects that we've identified. There are a couple of projects GRW is kind of already working on. But then we also, we have some general kind of consulting that they do for us. They help us with our stormwater billing, our stormwater inventory. We try to do an update to a portion of our stormwater inventory every year. And so because GRW's kind of helped us with those things, we kind of do this annual contract with them. So it is a diversity of a couple different things. There's a little bit of capital planning and design. Like I said, the customer service and the inventory, they help us translate the data for our billing when we get it from the county. We then, GRW kind of has to process that data to then get it to Pollux so that Pollux can actually do the invoicing. So we kind of need their assistance to kind of continue doing those things. So if you look at page 6 of their contract, it kind of lays out what those other projects are. So specifically in our capital improvement plan, we had budgeted to then, this year we actually completed the Avon Heights, the middle phase. And so we still have the Avon Heights South phase. And so in the capital improvement plan, we propose to design the South phase next year with construction in 2022. And so GRW would start the design for that. There's some investigation and follow-up work on a couple of other projects. These are projects they kind of have already in the pipeline that we're doing some review on. Austin Lakes and some standing water on County Road 625 by AJAA. And then another project that Alex and I have kind of been working on is the Raceway Road underpass to try to address some of the drainage issues there. And then you'll notice then the administrative tasks, they've got money for the GIS and the ERU updates, stormwater mapping, and then kind of just other administrative and operational things that they kind of help us with. So the total contract is for $95,000. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys.
Thanks, Ryan. Questions, Kurt or Lindy?
I don't have any questions, Mason.
Ryan, what do you need from us on this? A motion to approve the contract, or was that just an FYI?
No, I do need you guys to approve the contract since it's over $10,000. I do need the Storm Board's approval.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the contract with GRW as reported?
I move to approve the GRW as reported.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing none. Next on the agenda. Need to find my agenda again. 6C.
Yeah, it's reject quotes for storm sewer cleaning. So we did, every year we budget $30,000 to do storm sewer cleaning. So what this is we actually go into like existing neighborhoods and we clean the storm pipes. And so we went out and actually seeked quotes to do a couple of neighborhoods this year. I don't know if people are busy or we had a couple of people who had actually got our storm sewer cleaning project in the past and they didn't even submit in this occasion. And then we had to beg and plead for even a second quote just to see if it was a market issue or what may have been going on. But we only got 2 quotes. The one from Badger was for $100,000. And the quote from Fluid Waste was for $63,000. The Fluid Waste quote was 2 times what we paid for storm sewer cleaning last year. And the Badger quote was 3 times what we paid last year. So there's no real urgency to us doing that storm sewer cleaning. So our request is for you guys to reject those quotes and let us to, Gerald and I, to kind of keep working on it and try to figure out why we didn't get better prices than that. or maybe even just do it next spring and see if we can get better prices based on the time of the year. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I do need you guys to make a motion to reject the bid or reject the quotes.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks for, holding them accountable. That's pretty unacceptable to have that kind of increase. Kurt, Lindy, anything?
I don't have any questions, and I guess I agree with you, Mason, and I would be willing to make a motion to reject these quotes and pursue this a little further and see if it is truly a budget issue or a service issue.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, seeing none. Next up, award quote for drainage repair in Oak Bend, 6D.
Yeah, I'm actually going to request, Mitchell caught this. Gerald was actually working on this for me, and I kind of threw it on your agenda at the last minute, but Mitchell kind of caught and pointed out to me, the law actually says that we're supposed to seek 3 quotes for a project of this size, and we only asked for 1. So I would actually just ask that you guys table this, and we will get some additional quotes and bring it back to you guys at a future meeting.
Okay, that's fine. We'll table it. Thank you. Next up, 6E, determination of class code for certain parcels. Ryan?
Yeah, so every year, kind of when we, as new parcels come online, we kind of get these anomalies in the billing codes. And to kind of take you guys back to when we started the stormwater utility, we base our billing based on the state's class codes, which is what they use for taxation purposes. And so on occasion, because it's for the taxes, those don't change as quickly as development may occur on them sometimes. So on most of these parcels, what you're seeing is that in the class codes, they were actually classified as vacant, undeveloped property, but they've actually been built on and there's impervious area on them already. And so GRW kind of catches these in their review process. And so they send them to us. But the determination, the ordinance is very specific that created the stormwater utility that said the storm board is responsible for making any determination of class change codes. So in order to make these changes, the storm board actually has to sign off on them. And I think every single one of them, really 2.1 through 2.7 are all situations where they were either vacant land or we've kind of found anomalies. And so these are just making the determination that they should be billed as non-residential. I think most of them are non-residential. I think 2.5 is a situation where we found some impervious area that it crossed over between 2 parcels and we should probably be billing one of the other adjacent parcels. 2.8, 2.9, and 2.10 are actually just kind of an error in the system in the way that it's being shown in the GIS database, where it shows like a portion of the property in town and a portion of the property not in town. So those were just basically clarifying that they should be receiving a bill, but they're not really class code changes. So I think, GRW does a good job. They kind of print these out and they highlight the impervious area. So if you're looking at your little maps that show the kind of the yellow boxes around stuff is all the impervious area in the aerial photography. And so GRW kind of digitizes those for us, and they actually measure the ERUs based on what we've established as an ERU. So Alex and I are both willing to answer any questions you guys have on those, but it is our recommendation that you determine the class code based on the memo that I had put in your packet.
Thanks, Ryan. Lindy or Kurt, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do, Ryan. So on 2.8, just so I'm understanding this is currently a property that is receiving a bill, but we are proposing to that is no longer in the town and remove them from the stormwater utility?
No, so it's an error. So if you notice, if you're looking at the exhibit, the north east corner of the intersection where you kind of see the yellow on the impervious area, that church is actually in town. And so they should continue to receive a bill. Did I mistype that in my recommendation?
Oh,
I think the question was, should they stop receiving a bill? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so 2.8, the church in the northeast corner is in town and should continue to receive a bill. Does that make sense, Kurt?
yeah, just the language you used in the latest version of the Avon corporate limits, the parcel resides outside of the Avon corporate limits.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's an anomaly that we
Okay.
found in the GIS. It's not showing our town boundaries properly.
Okay,
That northeast corner is in town. And so then that's something we'll remedy with GRW and Schneider. It's an issue between the two data sets that we get sometimes.
okay, so the pink shading is not entirely correct.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha,
Yep,
gotcha.
exactly. Yep.
Ryan, this is Mason. How often does GRW do this for us again?
Alex, you want to answer that?
Yeah, this is on a quarterly basis. Now, usually we're looking at changes that may happen, so we would go back through and check those. Going through and trying to catch, like a change in classification like this that doesn't show up might be more of like a once a year type thing. If we go through and try to just kind of double check to make sure nothing was missed through the year. But on a quarterly basis, we take the updated county database from their tax records and then cross-check it against the previous quarter to see what changes may be needed. And then we take those changes and kind of collate them and send them off to Pollux then to update their database. But occasionally it does result in a few of these areas here where, most likely on some of the earlier ones, the county will eventually catch up to it. But if you as a storm board don't wish to wait for that, you have the ability based off of the actual visual evidence to say, hey, there is an impervious area here and we need to be billing it this way, regardless of what the county is showing it as a code classification. So.
Thanks, Alex.
Yes, that's a good point, Alex. These will eventually get caught up and we could choose to not bill them until they do get caught up. But I think kind of our position is that's a little bit unfair that other people are paying the bill and these people do have impervious area already. So they should really be subjected to paying the same as everybody else to make sure we're treating everybody equitably.
And then a lot of times these are based off of aerial images, so those aerial images only get updated potentially on like maybe an annual basis or every 2-year basis. So sometimes it's harder to catch some of those, but there was some newer aerial data that showed these improvements pretty clearly. So.
Well, do we have any other questions for staff?
I don't, Mason.
Okay. Then do I have a motion to approve the class code determinations presented by the staff?
I will make a motion to do so.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, seeing.
Mason, yeah, you muted yourself there, Mason.
Thanks. Seeing that was approved, moving on to the agenda. I believe we're at 6D or E. Having to scroll up to the top of my screen.
We're on 6F.
6F, way off. My apologies.
No, you're
overbilling issues.
You were close. You were trying to extend the length of the meeting. I know what you're doing, Mason.
Just can't get enough of you guys.
Yeah, I know. Just stormwater, so exciting. So we did in our October billing, we found that we actually made an error and we billed some people who should not have been billed. And fortunately, GRW has done a nice job and we've been able to track down everybody who we sent a bill to who should not have received a bill. Unfortunately, it did make a little bit of a mess because we got a bunch of phone calls of people who were angry and said we sold the property and we should have never gotten a bill. And so it's a little bit of a mess. And so what you have here is a solution to correct that mess. I guess, first off, I want to make sure the Storm Board is aware that we've identified how we got the mess in the first place, which was the data from the county, the way that it was provided to us wasn't in the format that it should have been in. And so GRW and Pollux has now put into place a mechanism to test the data before we get to a point that we bill from it to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So we've taken that step and we've resolved it, and we don't expect for it to happen again, but we still kind of have the existing mess that we need to clean up. And so the issue really is we have two options. The first option is we can send an apology letter, which I provided you guys a copy of, that says we made a mistake in our billing. Please ignore your bill. You're not responsible for it. And we can clean up the database to get it back to how it should have been in the first place. The cost of that is about $3,000 to do that. So obviously that's the least expensive option. The downside of that is by just telling those people that we billed them improperly, we would lose out on potentially about $12,000 worth of revenue, because we would still have to do the second step, is which to actually bill the people who should have been billed for it in the first place. So if we don't bill those people, then we don't collect that revenue. So that's option one. Option two is we can pay the quote that's attached, which I believe is about $9,900, a little bit under 10,000. Yeah, just a little bit. It'd be the 9,900 plus the 226.10, which would be for us to do the same thing. We still send our apology letter to everybody, and we actually make the corrections to the database, and we rebill all the property owners who should have been billed for their October bill. And so again, the situation is that costs us about $10,000 to do, but we do recover $12,000 worth of revenue. So we end up at a net gain of about $2,000 by going through that process. But obviously we spend a bunch of money to get it right. So on principle, the best thing for us to do is to spend the $10,000. And again, when we talk about billing people and treating everybody equitably, we want to, people should pay what they were supposed to pay. And although in this situation, it is our error. So I think our recommendation would probably be to go ahead and pay the $10,000, fix it, and bill the people properly and collect the revenue, because then everyone who paid would pay. But we did at least want to offer the option as well that if we just want to correct the database and eat the money, that's an option as well. And then the Storm Board would essentially just make the decision we were going to write off that revenue. And congratulations to those 230 property owners who their bill would basically be forgiven. So just kind of wanted to get your guys' input on that. And it's really a lose-lose situation. So it's really, how do we want to, what's the best way to address it?
Thanks, Fred. I have a couple questions. So I want to make sure I understand the option. So one option is, first option is to notify the residents that were incorrectly, or the properties that were incorrectly billed, let them know you don't need to pay that, and clean up the system. But cleaning up the system, that will cost how much again?
About $3,000. And so that's just for them to get it back to being the way it should have been, so that when we go to do our December billing, we're billing the proper people in December. So it'd basically be to reset, but then all of those customers who were supposed to be billed wouldn't receive bills. But when they got their next bill, it would just be a regular bill. We wouldn't necessarily punish them for not having paid the other bill.
So it'd be the 3,000 to pay to clean it up, and we would be out the 12,000 that this town was owed. Okay, that's option one. Option two is to pay as much as 10,000 to clean up the records and reach out to the property owners that should have been notified and pay. But the town will spend approximately 10,000, potentially recoup 12,000. What is the likelihood of us recouping, 100%? Based on our current track record, are we likely to recover close, if not all, or what are we really going to capture if we go with option two?
I would expect that we'll recover at least what we're spending. Most of them are residential customers. Unfortunately, a good portion of them, which will make sense to you in your mind if you think about it, there's a lot of Pulte homes, Lennar homes, because those are people who sold those lots to people and transferred ownership of houses. So a lot of them, they may not have even caught that we billed them improperly, and they may have paid their bills. So, and we would have to process refunds for all those people as well. So it's a huge mess. I mean, it's a real disaster of a mistake. And so that's why I really wanted to emphasize that we've come up with a solution to avoid this from happening again, because it really is it's a mess. I don't know a better way to describe it than it's really a mess, because we're going to have to refund. And so, like, on your next meeting, if any of those 200 plus customers that were improperly billed have paid their bills, we're going to have to issue refunds to all of them. And, we can't keep their money because we improperly billed them. Now, some of them who caught it and called us, we told them not to pay to hopefully avoid that.
Is it possible? Well, at a minimum, it will need to reach out, which we are going to do, send out the letters, let them know there was an error, and definitely, we need to do the right thing and refund the money if they have paid. I mean, is there a way for Pollux to issue a credit for their next account, or does that just muddy the waters?
Yeah, that would really muddy the waters, because the way the database is set up is each property or each customer has a unique ID. So, for example, we don't pull together like all the Pulte properties. Like Pulte owns 500 properties in town. We don't send them one bill for all 500 properties. They get an individual bill for each of their 500 properties. So they're going to get 500 bills. And so, and again, I'm making those numbers up. Those aren't real numbers, but if it's 40 lots or whatever it is, that's kind of how it happens. So there's no way for us to really do that, because you'd have to transfer that money to a different customer number then. And so that it would almost just end up being easier for us to give them a refund.
Okay, yeah, I definitely don't want to make it more complicated. As you already expressed, it's quite the challenge as it is. So the board, what are your thoughts, questions, concerns, suggestions?
So Ryan, a question I have, I want to make sure I understand this right. We erroneously sent some people a bill who should not have received one.
Correct.
Is the flip side of that then, we erroneously did not bill some people who should have received one?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's the $12,000 of revenue that those people should have been billed and they have not been billed.
So if this was during the October billing cycle, for that second group of people, they're essentially going to get two bills in the month of January or early quarter one of this next coming year?
No, if we clean it up, I think our plan was that we would actually send them bills once we clean it up, versus sending them a bill in January that said, hey, we messed up, and so now you have twice as much of a bill than what you would normally have expected to have. So we'll actually send them a bill. We'll make them aware that we had a billing issue, but we're billing them now. And so they'll get a bill for October, and then they'll also get a bill in December for January, basically.
That's if we go with option two, right?
Correct, yeah. Or we could just choose to say, we're not going to bill any of those people, we'll forgive that, and we'll walk away from that revenue, which is why we end up with the $12,000 revenue loss if we do that.
Yeah, essentially, just to follow up on that, the parcels themselves are valid and the bills are valid. It was the owners that were presented to us from the county that were incorrect. The owners that they presented were on those 200 and some properties were previous owners because they gave us older data on those and did not reflect the current property owners of October 1st. So that's where the discrepancy went in, where some people were billed that don't own the properties anymore, but some of the people who own the properties were not billed.
So at the end of so if we go with option 2, while we could potentially recover $12,000 of fees, we will need to spend at least $10,000 in our attempt to recover it. So we might only gain $2,000. Is that right? Again, plus or minus.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so the other option is really, it costs us $3,000 and we lose $12,000. So you basically end up in an expense, a loss of $15,000 just because you're forgiving the bills and then you're just fixing the error. So it's really $2,000 or $15,000. But in order to only lose $2,000, you have to spend $10,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about from a staff resource perspective? I mean, is there one option that is less burdensome and then thus, resulting in more cost that's not necessarily dollars and cents, but hours, man hours?
Yeah, I mean, there's I think either way, I think there would be less of an impact if we chose to forgive the $12,000, because when those people get bills in, 2 or 3 weeks, they're not going to be reaching out and saying, why am I getting the October bill in December? But again, that percentage is probably pretty small. I think Jasmine probably took 50 phone calls about people who called out of that 200. So, 25%. So, I mean, it's a lot, but I don't know that it's enough to justify washing the $12,000. I think either way, we're going to have a lot of phone calls and we're going to have to do a lot of explaining to people.
Sure. What else? What other questions or thoughts do we have for the staff?
Of the mindset, what Ryan had said earlier about it being an equal, everyone should be billed. And so I'm not a huge fan of some people being billed, some people not. If it was our mistake, it's our mistake. And so, I mean, it's a lose-lose for us, unfortunately, but I think the bills should go out to the people that didn't get billed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's our mistake, take ownership of it. I'm a proponent of option 2.
I am too.
All right, well, do I have a motion for option 2 then?
I'll make a motion for option 2.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Hey guys, real quick,
Yes.
just to clarify, or if you wouldn't mind clarifying in your motion, will option 2 authorize us to allow Pollux to make the modification as presented in their proposal?
So option 2, to allow Pollux to do as outlined by staff just now. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. So approved.
Thank you. Apologize for that issue. We fully acknowledge that something we need to resolve and avoid from happening again.
I appreciate you all to bring that to our attention and again, doing the right thing and letting the folks know that we're supposed to pay, remedying that and, all doing our part. So, all right, last item here, 6G, approved 2021 meeting schedule. That was included in the packet, correct?
Yes, so here's the meeting schedule. This is maintaining your current, basically meeting quarterly. And then approving claims, or if needed, the other times, which is basically the same schedule that the Storm Board adhered to in 2020.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, I don't have any conflicts right now with those 4 dates, so.
Okay. Well, do I have a motion? We need to approve these, correct, Ryan? So they can be posted?
Yes, please. Yeah, if you could just approve the meeting schedule for 2021, and then we will send it out and post it and make it available to everybody.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the 2021 schedule as reported?
I'll move to approve the 2021 meeting schedule.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. And then, do we have any other business?
I don't have anything. I did just want to tell you guys thank you. I appreciate all your work this year and appreciate your support. I think the Stormwater utility has done a good job, and I think we're providing good customer service, and we're doing all the things we said we were going to do when we created it. So I'm happy with the way it's going. We do have a Christmas party, so I apologize due to the coronavirus. We weren't able to invite you guys to our annual Christmas party, but thank you guys for what you do. I appreciate you guys volunteering your time and getting on these meetings, and I appreciate you guys always supporting us. So thank you for that. And then I would, Mason, I know you've kind of already responded, but for Lindy and Kurt to know, Mason's term does end at the end of this year. And so Mason, if you'd like to continue on, you have to reapply. Just a reminder.
Yeah, and I responded. I can't remember who sent the email. Was it Elizabeth?
Jasmine.
Jasmine, that's right. And so I'm going to take a break this year, so I'm not going to reapply, but hopefully, next year, 2022, I'll get involved again, if not with this board, with perhaps some other board, but I think it's probably time to give someone else the opportunity to serve with all of you. And, it's been a pleasure, and, want to give a shout out to you, Ryan, and the staff as well. I know, I'm sure you'd much rather be doing something else at 6:19 at night. So appreciate you guys supporting us and putting up with our, schedules and whatnot. So thanks for everything. And Kurt and Lindy, thank you so much. Yeah, that's all I've got. Anything else for the good of the group?
Hey, I just want to say thanks to you and as well as everybody for the service. I mean, good and thoughtful questions on this. It's obviously a dry thing to go through all this, but it's extremely important. And as we can see, it's delicate too when an error goes out like that. So thank you for everyone's graciousness in working through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree totally, Steve. Thanks so much.
Mason, I'd like to say it was nice 2-year stint with you. I think we had our run, so I wish you well, and hopefully we'll see you back.
Yeah,
you made a great
appreciate it.
president.
Well,
I'll say that.
I think I picked a great year to be president, right? Well, thanks to you too, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I won't be a stranger. So it's been enjoyable, and it's been neat to be involved in something that's new. So it's been great. Well, anything else?
I have nothing else.
Okay, well then I'll note for the record that our meeting concluded at 6:21 p.m. Eastern. All right, thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have a
guys
good
so much. Christmas. Stay healthy.
You too.